Hello and welcome everyone. Good evening. Today we'll be covering the budget updates from the Union Budget 2025. It was a spectacular budget, if I have to say, for the middle class. The income slab on which no tax is levied has been increased from 7 lakhs to 12 lakhs. That is an increase of 71%. Today, we have with us three experts who are going to decode the budget with me. I'm your host, CA Kanan Bahl, finance educator, chief editor, One Finance Magazine, and founder of FinGrowth Media. So let me introduce you to Mr. Kuldeep Parashar, who's the founder of Pension Box, Mrs. Neetu Gupta, who's the SVP and head of tax at Aviva Life Insurance, and Mrs. Manju Dhake, who is the senior vice president of insurance at One Finance. So your initial reaction, first of all, if I have to capture Manju.
Yes. Obviously, as you rightly mentioned,
we are facing a glitch in your voice. Can you please repeat? No, we can't hear you. No worries. If we have to take Kuldeep, can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your take on the budget?
In a nutshell, there are two major things. One, government want you to have more spending power for the new tax regime, for especially focusing on the younger folks. And second, the tax benefits are only there for the long term. So let's say NPS or corporate NPS is the only one where they want you to save for a long run and then get some tax rebate on that. So especially, I feel it's for the younger folks to make sure that they have more spending power than saving power in a way. And so that they can spend more and then the GDP grows more. So I think the first impression of the budget was this. Yeah, over to you.
Great. So Manju, can you hear us? Manju, can you hear us? I think there's a voice issue at your end. So until that gets fixed, yeah, can you try saying something, please? No worries. We have Neetu with us, who's the SVP head of tax at Aviva Life Insurance. Hi, Neetu. Welcome to this discussion.
Thanks,
Great to have you here. So, what are your initial takes on the union budget?
So, as we all know, the income tax limit was a very big ask from the salaried class, and it was pending for years. So, that is the good thing which has happened. And, this has really set the tone. Second thing, which Madam has said that she would be introducing the income tax bill. Now, that is again a new thing, which we are looking at, because earlier in her last speech, she had mentioned that, there would be a simplification of the act. And when we had checked with the revenue secretary, he had given the impression then that there is no plan to introduce a new act or new code. It would be the simplification in the existing act. But now when she's saying that there would be new bill, so we would be seeing whether it would be simplification in the existing act, or it would be a new document altogether. But all in all, the government is aiming towards bringing simplification for everyone.
Got it. Kuldeep, since you mentioned about the consumption theme, right? The government is, saying that, you need to consume more because we were seeing a consumption slowdown. But don't you think that in the last budget we had NPS introduced in for the new regime as well? So it's not like the government is completely disregarding the importance of savings and not promoting it by way of tax saving. So even if we look at the tax savings structure right now, if you have a salary income plus interest income, say of 12,75,000, you get 75,000 standard deduction, and your tax liability comes out to zero. Even if it is around 13 and a half lakhs, you can ask your employer to pay on your behalf an NPS contribution of up to 14% of your salaries. So from a pension standpoint, do you have any comments on that? Like if we talk about the previous budget as well and linking it with 13.25 lakhs, 13.5 lakhs worth of salary, that's close to 1.1 lakhs a month, being completely exempt from taxes.
So honestly, I'm pretty happy with the current budget. I have no remorse on saying that it's not good, because eventually they have added corporate NPS and especially NPS Vatsalya as well in the Pentex and tax benefits, right? So definitely, I'm pretty much happy with the current formulation of how things are. Again, the first impression was always that you can spend more, but if you start saving also along with your corporate NPS, right? That's something where you save up more taxes. So as you rightly said, if your salary is 12.75 lakhs, you basically pay nothing in the taxes. But if your salary is above that, it is must to have corporate NPS from the company to you as an option so that you can save up taxes more. So honestly, I'm pretty much happy with the way it is placed. The only tax benefit you get in new tax regime is corporate NPS in a way, and we are rightly placed there to do it. So it's a plus plus for us. Having said that, it's not mandatory from all the employers that they do it for their employees, right? So it's optional for employers to do it, corporate NPS for their employees. So the next good thing could be that companies started doing it for their employees. Eventually, they will still have the option to save tax if their salary is more than 12.75 lakhs. But I'm pretty much happy with the whole setup in a way. It's good for pension schemes. It's good for us. It's also good for younger folks that they can have more salary in hand for the nearby consumption. But if they want to save up taxes, there's an option available for them through the corporate to do it as well.
Got it. There were some changes around NPS Vatsalya as well. Like if you talk about the taxation, can you brief us about those changes?
So in the last budget, which is June 2024, our finance minister have introduced NPS Vatsalya, which is basically parents can open up a pension account for their kids. And everyone thought that is something very different in a way. But the tax benefit on that particular product, because it comes under NPS structure itself, right? So NPS has three structure, NPS, corporate NPS, and now NPS Vatsalya. The tax benefit was not clear till now. So now the tax benefit or NPS Vatsalya is clear that it will share the same category as self NPS, which is 80 1B, which goes up to 50,000 of your self contribution to NPS, right? So that clarity has come now in this particular budget. So now every NPS product, be it self NPS or your corporate NPS or even NPS Vatsalya, have some tax benefits to it. So this is clarity that has come this time. But the announcement came in last budget in June itself. But I think it's good for people who want to save up some money for their kids' future in a way. So that also have a tax benefit to it.
Great, great. So, Neetu, do you have any comments on the taxation changes that have come apart from the ones that we've already discussed and the slab rate structure, apart from those ones?
So, in terms of the major taxation changes, I think, government has kept their cards close to their heart, and I think those will come by way of a new tax bill, which income tax bill, which we would see in the coming week. So, on the lighter note, they have saved the weekend of the tax professionals. Otherwise, all of us would have been busy just scrutinizing the T's and I's of the new bill. So those are the, but one thing which major change which they have brought, if I can say so, for the ULIP tax policy holders and who were invested in the ULIP taxable policies before February 2021. So we all know that from 1st February 2021, government had introduced an amendment whereby they mentioned that if a person invests up to 2.5 lakh in a new ULIP policy, that would be tax exempt, but if it is beyond that, then it would be taxable. And then they came out with circular as to how the taxation would happen. They made the changes, equity oriented fund, debt oriented fund, but in the circular they said everything would be taxed as the equity oriented fund. We sought clarification from the government and they said yes, we are very clear that it would be taxed at equity oriented fund. Accordingly, last year they made changes in the mutual fund debt taxation regime. But still, there was an open question as to how those policies, which are ULIP policies and which are not exempt and which were taken by the policy holders before February 2021, how would they be taxed? Whether in those cases indexation benefit would be available, whether based on the last year's amendment, they would be falling under income from other sources. So this year now government has clarified, they have brought amendment in the capital gains, and they are saying that the ULIP policies, taxable policies, would be subjected to capital gains. So this is another clarification which they have introduced, and I think it's good for everyone, for the industry also, and for the policy holders, that now at least we know which side of the law we are falling, rather than having to toss and decide whether it would be capital gains or income from other sources.
Got it. So it's a relief for the people who are falling under the 30% tax slab, right? This clarification helps them with
Yeah.
a lot better clarity.
So even those who are falling under 30%, they would have offered under capital gains, but it could
Okay.
have been open to interpretation. Somebody could have challenged
Right.
it, but now government
Peace of mind
bringing
is there
that
now.
kind of, yes, bringing that kind of clarity in the law itself, it helps uh, people like you and me, ordinary policy holders. Somebody who is ultra HNI may still like to challenge that when he had taken the policy, he or she, the law at that point of time was this, and how he can be subjected to different law at the time of maturity. But for most of us, it is a clarification, and I think it's right action by the government, at least in terms of bringing the clarification.
Great, great. Since we are talking of insurance and now we have Ms. Manju back as well. So, ma'am, can you please tell us about a few more changes that have come for the insurance sector in this budget?
Sure, Kanan. Thank you for having me here. I hope now I'm audible and
Perfect.
visible. Perfect, great. So yeah, so the two other major changes, which have come related to insurance industry. Obviously, one is the FDI, which was raised from 74% to 100%. I mean, this will really attract the global players who are really looking at having operations in India. I mean, this will bring in more fresh capital from the global players, better technology, risk management practices, from globally. Also, on the other side, if we also look at domestic player, how this will impact them is they have to really step up and be in the competition in terms of giving a quality service and having pricing structures to be in the market. So that is one part of it. But overall, if we look at this big move, will surely is in line with the goal and mission of insurance for all. 20 for by 2047, I think this will really increase in insurance penetration at large. So better competition, better prices, and obviously good a lot of things for the customers too to look for, because they will have a choice and pricing and innovative products. The second one change is on the insurance offices in the IFSC. Some relief is given to them till 2030, which will also extend some further global players having offices or operations in India and IFSC, which will deepen the market. So I think these are the two major changes overall related to insurance, apart from the ULIP and other things, clarification that we see. Overall, I see a positive outlook as far as the FDI is concerned, because insurance being a capital intensive industry, and any move related to capital infusion or anything related to FDI surely is a welcome move, I think. Over to you, Kanan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your reaction, Manju. Coming back to our other panelists. So, Kuldeep, any other changes that you saw in the budget that you found interesting for the economy as a whole, leaving aside direct and indirect taxes?
I think, as I said earlier, spending power is something which everyone look forward to, and then more and more young folks in the India especially are spending a lot of money, be it any services and any consuming any services as such in India, right? So that's one major crux in a way, where even if you look at cut down of taxes till let's say in the till 12 lakhs, or having more than 1 lakh income in hand as such, but eventually that will get invested somewhere in the market, be it consuming all these products, or be it buying all these services that are there in India, and that will basically a boost up for the GDP. So when I look at this particular whole thing, is basically two parts. One, more power for you to spend it, and second, if you are saving something for the long run, there are certain tax benefits as well. So it's kind of a balance for people in 20s, especially earning good, uh, around 12 or below that as well, and that will boost up the consumption part of the youth in India, especially, and that will eventually end up increasing our GDP part as well. So there are more and more people adding more values, or let's say more consumable items across, and then people can actually buy them and put more money there. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much two things that I was looking at. I consume everything that we have more policies coming along. Let's say there was one which is Makhana board, right? Which was very interesting to look at, which is makhana being a popular thing across India, but now it's being popular across globe, right? When then people put it something like this, be it a very small thing for us, but when you start doing something like that, it will create a global impact for exports, right? So I think overall this budget was pretty much as far as, or maybe above that, my expectation, because the consumer power, spending power will increase, the exports was majorly the focus from this budget itself, and eventually end up increasing India's GDP. So these are a couple of things. Makhana board was just like one example, but there are a couple of more areas where I saw these couple of things coming along. Eventually end up bringing more money in India, spending more money in India, and then building more in that sense.
Great. I'll come back to you, Kuldeep, on the skill development part as well. But we have some interesting questions in the chat box, and happy to see them. Manju, I have one question for you from Kunal. He asks that, does the budget make medical insurance more affordable in any way? I think we lost Manju. So Kuldeep or Neetu, if either of you can answer us. Yeah,
So
we have Manju back. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry, Neetu, to interrupt you. We have Manju back with us.
No
Yeah.
worries. Can you just repeat the question? Maybe I've lost the connection
Sure.
again. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Sure. So we have Kunal asking us in the chat section as to whether this budget makes medical insurance more affordable.
Clearly, we are waiting for some announcements, which are due in the coming week related to direct and indirect taxes changes which are going to happen. I'm sure, some announcement related to GST, which is most awaited, may have an impact in reducing the prices probably. But as on, whatever was discussed today, nothing was mentioned on this sort. But certainly, when we see FDIs coming in, there will be surely a competitive pricing, and which may be in favor of the customers, I would say.
Great. Perfect. So we have some other questions as well in the chat section, but I'll take them towards the end in our Q&A section. But moving on, Neetu, I would like to understand from you, first of all, like say, for example, if someone has a salary income of 10 lakh rupees, and their income before the 1.25 lakh deduction under section 112A is 3 lakhs. So how would they be taxed? Can you enlighten us on this?
Come back again. I think I missed the last part.
Sure. If the salary income is 10 lakh rupees, and if the capital gains under section 112A, that is from long-term listed equities or mutual funds, equity-oriented mutual funds, is 3 lakh rupees before the 1.25 lakh rupee exemption under section 112A, how will they be taxed?
So actually, everywhere in the media, we are seeing that the 12 lakh, the income exemption limit is 12 lakh, but that is not the case actually. Madam has introduced slabs very wisely. So earlier the slab, which was 2.5 lakh, now it has become 4 lakh, and then we have 4 to 8, 8 to 12, and thereafter. Plus the slab rates are also there. Now, how she has arrived at the 12 lakh rupees no income tax that is particularly applicable for a salaried employee who receives income and whose income is taxable at the normal income tax slab rates. She has in her speech very categorically mentioned that if any income is taxable at specified income tax rates, in those cases the limit of 12 lakh exemption will not be applicable. So
Okay.
here we will have to go, we will have to divide the income into two parts. One is the salary income, and there is another other than salary income which is subject to specified tax rates. From there, we would have to reduce the deductions or exemptions available for income under that specified tax rates, and then that would be taxable as per the slab rates. So the benefit of the rebate calculate while calculating the salary income taxation, that won't be available for calculating the specified income which is taxable at the specified rates. In your case, the example which you have given, the long term capital gains, so the rebate benefit will not be applicable for the long term capital gains, and it would be taxable at its normal rates.
So as far as the income that is concerned at 10 lakhs, which I was talking about the salary and the other income. So if we talk about that particular income, will we be taxed on that or that will be exempt?
So that for that one would get the 87A rebate, and there would not be any tax liability for that amount. But
Okay.
for the long term capital gains, one would be, because this is the income taxable at the specified rates, and for that 87A rebate would not be applicable.
Got it. Got it. So I think there's some, there's some clarification that is needed from the department and experts on this, because 87A says that an SSE being an individual shall be entitled to a deduction on his total income on which he is chargeable for that assessment year, provided it is within 1,200,000 rupees. That is 1,200,000 rupees. Yeah, so that's basically 12 lakh rupees, right? So we'll probably have to get this clarity whether this income would be taxable, the first 10 lakhs would be taxable at all or not in this case, because uh, where the income increases beyond 12 lakhs, then you don't know whether you have to pay taxes or not, because on the first 10 lakhs as well. But regardless, so we have some more interesting questions coming in after our discussion with Manju. So Manju, Kuldeep, Neetu, either of you can answer that. Will life insurance policies get better tax benefit under the new tax bill?
So in terms of the maturity taxation, there is not a difference between the taxability under the old regime or a new regime, if that is the question. So there is no differentiation, because whether it's under old regime or new regime, they would continue to be taxed as the capital gains.
Got it. Neetu, one small question. If we are going to have the new tax bill coming in just 1 week, then what was the point of introducing these changes now? Could they not have been introduced along with the new tax bill itself?
So that's the reason I mentioned in my opening remarks that we would have to see whether the new income tax bill, whether it is coming as an amendment to the existing act, or whether it would be a new bill altogether, as we were hearing earlier, as direct tax code. So, and if it comes in the form of direct tax code, there may be a requirement of consultation, or sometimes it is sent to joint parliamentary committee for the views. So it may take little longer than a month for the whole exercise to get over, and maybe in that spirit government might have introduced or thought it prudent to introduce the changes within the budget, as compared to the other operational sections. So we will have to see as to in which form and shape this new bill is coming, whether it's changes as the the overhauling of the existing, or the new introduction, like something like what GST law which we had seen, that was not a overhauling of the existing. It was a new law by itself.
Altogether.
So whether
right.
this is coming as a new or the old. And
Got
just in terms of the earlier example which you had mentioned, if one's salary income is 10 lakh, one will get the standard deduction also. So
Right.
he would be having a taxable income of 9.25 for standard deduction. And if that person opts for something like NPS, that person may still have lower taxable income as compared to 9.25. And plus the long term capital gains, after excluding the exemption limits, still that person can be within the framework of 12 lakhs. So it will all depend upon the the facts of the each case, Raj. So it will be difficult to have a global answer or universal answer that just because somebody has 10 lakh salary, gross salary, and 3 lakh capital gains, and that person is not eligible for exemption.
Got it. So while Neetu, you said that chartered accountants and tax professionals will have a relaxed weekend, but they'll surely have a very hectic month ahead if the direct tax code or the changes come. So they have just 1 week, including all of us, right? We have just 1 week to relax, and that's and maybe a year or a month
one
of a month or
one
a year of
Sunday, I
yeah,
would say. I would say
yeah.
just one Sunday, so we can sleep at least tonight. Just while we are on this subject, one important change which has come for individual policy holders for IFSC, I would like to draw the attention there. So what was happening that under 1010D, if the policy maturity proceeds have to be exempt, for ULIP policies, the contribution or the premium per annum allowed was only 2.5 lakh. And for non-ULIP, it was 5 lakh. Now, when we see the IFSC, they are selling only dollar denominated products. So, 5 lakh in terms of dollar denominated, it is $6,000 or for non-ULIP, or $3,000 for ULIP per annum. It doesn't make any sense, because the whole idea of IFSC unit is that so that people invest via gift city rather than going outside the country, our money going outside the country. So one very big change which has come in this budget is that when we invest in the gift city products, even through our LRIS, there would not be applicability of this 2.5 lakh and 5 lakh limit. So under the LRS scheme, 2.5 lakh dollar per annum is allowed, and that's a huge money. So if somebody buys a product from the gift city up to 2.5 lakh LRS limit, and the maturity proceeds from that will not be taxable, because they will not be covered, or they will not be hit by 2.5 lakh INR limit of 1010.
Got it. Got it. Very interesting insights, Neetu. Manju, do you have anything else to add from your side?
No, I think Neetu covered it all when it comes to insurance. Obviously, a lot of things that we discussed, a few things related to women startup is also discussed in the budget. Really giving edge to the women empowerment is just thing which I wanted to add. Obviously, Makhana board has also been discussed, but then there are a lot of other areas related to tourism, and setting up a center of excellence. In the budget. I think these are, some of the things, one should look at positively.
Got it. To add to what Manju said, let me tell you something very interesting. It has been said in the budget that a new scheme will be launched for 5 lakh women, scheduled caste and scheduled tribes,
Yeah.
first-time entrepreneurs. This will provide them term loans of up to 2 crores during the next 5 years. So definitely, this is going to boost not just the entrepreneurship culture in India, but also for the marginalized communities and for women as well, which is a huge plus. Speaking of entrepreneurship, the government has also said that they'll top up their fund of fund commitment to startups at 10,000 crores. I was reading Mr. Kunal Bahl, who's the co-founder of Snapdeal, saying that this will have a multiplier effect. And another startup founder said that this will not just lead to a 10,000 investment. A 10,000 investment by the government will be backed up by the private sector, and this investment could go up to 40,000 crores. So where we were seeing a liquidity crunch in the startup ecosystem in the last couple of years, we can see this coming back, the investments coming back, especially with the 2-4 deals that have happened in the startup ecosystem lately. Kuldeep, do you have anything to add over here?
As I said, there are two parts to it, right? So one is we are consuming in India, and then second part is making sure that we can produce in India as well, right? So there is one major part where we are promoting MSME, we are promoting startups, we are promoting education sector, especially, right? To make sure that there is enough product built in India and consumed in India as well. So one side we are increasing the spending power of our young generation, and second side we are also giving them enough opportunity to build in India, make something in India, and then that can be consumed back in India itself, right? So when you look at from a perspective of building the nation across both the paths, so that is basically what is getting promoted in this particular day, right? So I feel if there's a top up from the government, there'll be always a boost up in confidence when it comes to private sector. So if you get a funding from the government or a grant from the government, and you can actually build up your MVP and prove it to the world that you can scale up this whole thing, private sector will always be able to back you up, right? So the initial couple of days, the initial couple of years where you are struggling with the funds, and then you have some grants coming up along from government backing you up, the private sector will always, I believe that it will always go 10x. So if you're getting 10 lakhs from someone, you can prove it that MVP works and people can consume that. You will always get VCs and investors backing you up and scaling that part, right? So I think it's a welcome move from the government side, and keeping that in mind that if we are increasing the spending power, we're also increasing the making power of our youth, beginning that we can actually scale up the production of multiple startups, and there is backing from the government to do it. And I guess as everyone knows that from Startup India, from last 2014 onwards, there's a huge backing on the Startup India initiative, right? So this is addition to that, and in next 5 or 6 years, we'll see the impact of that as well.
Perfect. Coming back to the skill development, initiatives that have been taken up in this budget, can you just run us through those changes? And as a startup founder yourself, how important do you think is the impact of AI in BFSI, especially if I have to talk about, since you are in that space, and in the saving space as well? So what is the impact of AI that you see in the coming 5 years, and how we need to upskill ourselves from the perspective of employability when it comes to AI upskilling?
So I'll start from the very top-down approach, right? So the first thing that you see is that the increase in education sector budget, right? So it is 1.28 lakh crores for education sector, this particular budget. There is basically about 6 to 7% increase from the last budget itself. There are certain sectors in the same budget that how much money will be allocated where, right? So one of the major sectors, if you see, there's a COE for artificial intelligence, right? So even government is putting across, focusing, saying that people should be skilled in AI, right? From a global perspective, not just from financial securities or let's say our own industry perspective. India overall should be more educated. There should be more focus on education so that they can be skilled and then can be put into a work, be it a startup, be it a MNC, be it a manufacturing, right? But education is one major part where it should be put in work again, right? On a AI side, which is getting used in financial sector, we all are aware that there are multiple areas where people are starting using AI. One of the major ones is getting the fraud detection right, getting the right documents vetted in a way. So there are multiple use cases that are already getting implemented across. We will see the cost of AI coming down as we see the scale coming up, right? So that is one of the major parts where we are seeing getting things implemented. But once these things start to scale, we'll see the cost of this AI implementation coming down for most of the startups as well. The skillness has to be something which has to be worked upon again. So people are basically do that.
Got it. So coming back to the Q&A, I'm sorry, Kuldeep, we lost you. I think, yeah. Are you done?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm almost done. But just that the learning part in the AI has to be built our own. Government is putting some effort, but again, it has to be our own responsibility to pick up the next trend and learn about it from a personal perspective as well. But that's pretty much it. I think things are going ahead. In the next 5 years, we'll see a lot of change coming along, both in India perspective, also in a fintech perspective as well. But we already started using AI like 3-4 years back. It's just scaling up, and the cost of putting that into use is coming down. So that's one thing.
Great. Great. So I have one question. I'll take one question here from the chat, and that is, what's the best way for young professionals to balance tax savings, investments, and entrepreneurship under this budget? I'll ask you, Kuldeep, to answer this, please.
So I'll take my own example. I saved up from my own salary to start my own venture, to be honest, right? So if you have less taxes, you have more money in hand, and you eventually want to do something on your own, save up that money and use that money initially to build up your MVP, right? If government is giving you that free money in a way for till 12 lakhs, and you can save up certain money to basically go and do about solving a problem. For a young person who's just starting up, I always tell them to pay off all your debts, come to the 0 point where you start saving on the part. So as I said, if there is less taxes on you, you are earning more. Clear off all your loans, credit cards, whatnot. Come to that 0 point where you don't have to pay anyone anything, and start saving towards what you really want to do, right? So if you think that you want to start something next year, save up that money, have that money backing you up, so you don't have to look forward for anyone to build that MVP and then scale that part. And again, there are multiple grants available for you. But in my personal case, when I saved up my own money, I proved that we can actually scale this part up. We had enough backers backing us in the private side as well, right? 100x, one of the first checkers in that. So my suggestion, if you're young and you have more money to spend and you want to do a startup down the line, save up that money, come to that 0 point. You don't have any dependency as such, and eventually start something on your own and get all the grants, whatever you can, and then scale that part. So that's majorly what my take is when someone is basically willing to start within a year or so, and you have money to do. So pay off all your debts, come to that 0 point, save up, let's say 5, 6 lakhs, 10 lakhs, whatever is needed to build your own first version of your startup, and then go from there. And it is actually possible to do it. I have done it. So you can actually save up from your own money and then start with the MVP part. I think that's pretty much it. And I think there's no other shortcut apart from that. You have to do your own bit and then start from there.
That's really insightful, Kuldeep. I must appreciate that. Coming back to the GST part here, Neetu, do we have anything on the GST front that will impact the end consumers positively? Do you have anything to add for us on this?
So, Kunal, since the GST law has been introduced, the exercise of bringing changes under GST along with the budget, actually, that has been delineated primarily. So we know that GST Council meets on regular basis, where the finance ministers of all the states and the union finance minister participate. They discuss the issues, whether it is rate rationalization. So somebody at the start of the conversation checked about anything coming for medical insurance in terms of rate rationalization. So that was not expected to come along with the budget. Then when the rate fitment committee gives its reports, and the GST Council would consider it, and post that we would see the announcements for that coming, and basis those announcements, the circulars or notifications are issued by the board. And if any the law changes consequential to those announcements, if the changes in the act or the law are required, they are generally moved to the parliament under various sessions. So in general, we were not expecting anything, or from the past few years since GST has come, anything in terms of the GST law changes are generally not attached to the budget.
Sorry, I was on mute. So if we have to talk about the rationalization that has happened in terms of custom duties on various products, including cancer medicines, how do you see that? How do you see that change?
Okay, so customs duty, it is still to that extent out of the GST frame. GST
Ambit,
is
right?
covering primarily. Sorry.
Yeah, it's outside the GST ambit. I'm asking
Yeah,
an independent question on imports
yeah,
of
yeah.
such drugs
So
that are life-saving drugs.
yeah, so I'm not looking at that genre very specifically, but certainly when we are saying that we are the pharmacy to the world, and we are providing the medicines to the world, definitely we are looking for that kind of status where the world also provides us the medicines which we use as as a competitive basis. And I think in that aspect, and we all know that health is something which is very close to this government's heart. They have introduced various schemes under which the people of different strata can get the medical treatment at various hospitals up to certain limits, so that they are not burdened with the cost of the medical treatment. And I think this is the step in the right direction.
Great. So, thank you so much, Manju. I think she has to leave. I have now. I'll move to the Q&A since we have covered the budget at length and even the personal tax changes. I'll just come quickly to the Q&A. Kuldeep, I have two questions for you. One is that is NPS contribution eligible for deduction in the new tax regime?
Yes, if it is done from a corporate NPS standpoint. So just to clear it out, if you're putting your money yourself to the NPS account, that's called a self NPS contribution. But if your company is giving you an option to get it deducted from your salary, that is basically eligible for both the tax regime. So new tax regime and the old tax regime, you'll get benefit in both the ways. But if you're choosing new tax regime, then only the corporate NPS benefit you'll get uh, if your company is doing it. So keeping that in mind, if you're choosing an old tax regime, you'll get both the benefits, your self contribution and the company contribution. But if you are choosing new tax regime, you need to ask your company to start giving you corporate NPS in a way, and that will become tax free in this particular tax regime.
I
I hope
have
that
another
clears out.
question. Yes,
Yeah.
that's absolutely perfect. Kuldeep, thank you so much for answering that. We have one more question on NPS, that is on NPS Vatsalya. I'll modify the question a
Yeah.
bit, and it is something like, will it make retirement planning much more simpler? And what are your views? This is my question to you, Kuldeep. What are your views on
Yeah.
NPS Vatsalya, since it is a recently introduced product and we haven't discussed or we haven't seen many discussions happening around it? What is your view on a product like NPS Vatsalya? Before that, please answer the question that we have in the chat box. Is it going to make retirement planning better?
So let's take an example here, right? So take my example, let's say all of us example. When we started working, we started from zero retirement savings, right? So we don't have any backing up. We start from PF, we do mutual funds, we do NPS as well for the retirement planning part. Eventually, we sum up everything in 30s, 40s, 50s down the line. NPS Vatsalya is a product where your kid doesn't have to start from zero, right? As simple as that. So let's say you start putting money in for your kid in a very early stage. He will have 18 years of compounding till he started working, and then he'll never start from zero. He'll always start from a 5 lakhs or a 6 lakh or a 10 lakh in a way, and that will compound for next 40 years as well, right? So NPS Vatsalya is a product where you can actually give a head start to your kid when he's actually there. A lot of people confuse it with a fund for education or the parts, but it is basically a product where you can give a head start, which is basically give them a compounding effects of a longer period of time, and they will never have to start from zero, which our generation actually did, right? So that's basically the agenda behind NPS Vatsalya. Same way, once they turn 18, they can have the option to exit or convert it to normal NPS, but they will always start from something, not from zero. So that's the main crux of having NPS Vatsalya for your kid. Even if we start from 1,000 rupee a month, they will always have some money to start up, and then compound for next 40 years is a huge amount of money, right? So compounding happens for like 50 years or so in a way, right? So that's a basic crux of why we should have a head start to your kid compared to starting from zero, which our generation actually did, right? So that's the major benefit of having NPS Vatsalya. Apart from that, it's very subjective whether it will be used for education or not, but it is definitely something which is a head start, much better than zero, to start with when your kids basically enter the workforce and then start from there.
Great, great.
I hope
So
this helps.
actually, yes, this definitely helps. Thank you so much, Kuldeep. So there are largely two schools of thought around NPS Vatsalya. One is that, of course, as the savings rates are going down, and we are seeing a lot of discretionary consumption happening, people borrowing money to spend. In fact, our recent research suggested that Gen Zs are investing 12% of their assets to bad loans, which is definitely a concerning theme. So maybe a product like this is for people like them, where the parents are saving money so that they have at least something, even if they are not saving it right now. The other school of thought says that why are we doing something for their retirement? Let us focus on the kids' education, kids' upskilling, so that his active income potential can increase. While of course both views have their own side, but this is quite a case specific thing that one needs to discuss with their own investment advisors, whether they need to have NPS Vatsalya in their kids' portfolio or not. So interesting, very interesting discussion that we have all had so far. I have one last question coming in from Twitter. That is, can the current insurance companies with foreign partners increase foreign investments or holdings up to 100%? I'll take that question from Neetu, since Aviva is a UK-based insurer and is I think one of the oldest insurers that India has had. So Neetu, you must have seen everything happening. I had a conversation with Asit from Aviva as well, who's the MD CEO. He told a very interesting trajectory where Aviva was there in the pre-independence era. Then after 1956, they had to go through the Nationalization Act of Insurance, and then slowly and gradually FDI was increased. FDI was allowed in this sector, and from 98 to 2000 to late 90s and early 2000s, Aviva entered back India. Now you have seen FDI limits being increased. Even in my own career of last 8 to 10 years, I've seen these FDIs limit getting revised. Now, since it has gone up to 100%, do you think the insurance companies, especially the ones with foreign parents, would be interested in raising up this limit from the existing 74% to 100%?
So, Kanan, certainly, this is a welcome move, as we started with 26%, and then in 2013-14 it was increased from 26 to 49, and as recent as few years back, it was increased from 49 to 74, and now it is 100%. It is certainly a positive move. However, how many foreign players would like to take benefit? That is again, very case specific. But we have seen in the history that Aviva has always taken benefit of this. So when it was increased from 26 to 49, they increased the stake. When it was made from 49 to 74, again they did. Now, it is up to shareholders as to what they would do this time, but definitely it's a good move, and it is a welcome move, and this is something which industry was asking. And when the industry had opened up for the foreign players, they were expecting it to happen much earlier, but government made it happen as they drew confidence, and now not only the existing players may consider increasing it to 100% depending upon the facts and their outlook, but there may be another set of foreign players who might be interested now to enter fresh, because 100% gives them lot of leverage, and both in terms of operational as well as the managerial control. And this being a business which involves long term investment, it's not a business where one just enters the market and starts making the quick money in 6 months or 1 or 2 years. So this is a business which requires long term commitments of decades and centuries. So this kind of regime where the 100% FDI is possible would give lot of comfort and lot of confidence to the players, and they would be in a position to go back to their boardrooms and draw their business plans with much more comfort. Is that all I can say as of now?
So first of all, congratulations that you got this change finally, approved. Congratulations on that, and I wish Viva and you all the very best on that. One last question, promise. I'm getting a flurry of questions across platforms. So Kuldeep, it is for you. Is that can you withdraw money from NPS Vatsalya in case of an emergency? That's the last one. I promise.
Yes, you can. It follows the same rules as a normal NPS as well when it comes to partial withdrawals. And again, there are conditions for education, for critical illness, and the similar rules that are there. So yes, you can withdraw in case of need from the NPS Vatsalya as the same rules as NPS as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kuldeep. Thank you so much, Neetu. And we do not have Manju ma'am with us, but thanks to her as well. Thank you for such an insightful conversation, and I hope all of you in the audience enjoyed this. If you have any questions, tag Personal Finance TV, or in case if you're listening to us on YouTube, leave your questions in the comment box and we'll try getting back to you. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Thanks, Kanan, for having us. Thank you.
Yeah, goodbye.
Thanks, Kanan. Thanks, everyone.